Welcome to A Dummy Does Scalloped Potatoes, where we're going to turn these ingredients into this. Great, so to start the process off, we're going to fill a large pot about 2/3 to 3/4 full of water, leaving enough room for us to put our chopped potatoes in. We're just going to bring that to a boil while we prepare our ingredients. Great, so Emmy, you're going to fill us up some potatoes. All right, while I chop up an onion. Okay? Well, all right, so you gotta hold the potato, okay? Yeah, you don't want to hurt yourself, and then just go slow, okay? You give it a try. All right, so we have a little bit of prep here. First, I diced up an onion. Then I peeled 3 cloves of garlic and pressed them in my garlic press. Then I sliced up my entire ham and used about 1/5 of it for the scalloped potatoes, while the rest of it I put in my freezer. I find it's easiest to slice it before freezing. Then I peeled 6 potatoes and washed them.
What are you doing?
We're going to talk to the camera for a sec. All right, so the water beat me to the punch and is now boiling, but I'm not ready. I still got to cut the potatoes that I've peeled and washed. And at this point, I've decided we're gonna ease off on that hot water, and we're going to make our white sauce and fry up our onions and get everything else ready before we get into parboiling our potatoes. Just because I've never done parboiling of potatoes before, and I want to make sure that I do it correctly. So we're going to cut our 6 peeled and washed potatoes, and we're just going to try to cut them nice and thin. This is a bit of a time-consuming process, so just get at it. If you have a mandolin or a food processor with a slicing attachment, this will be a 10-second job for you. And with the power of speed up, it'll be a 10-second job for me. Great, so I'm just gonna let them sit in some cold water while I prepare some of the sauces and fry up our onions and stuff and get everything ready to go. So yeah. Okay, so I've got a pan here on medium heat, 6. Just heating up some oil, and then we're going to do our roux in this pan. Turn it on to medium heat, and I'm just going to throw in around 3 tablespoons of butter, give or take. Let's see in there. And a little bit more. There we go. Okay. I'm really bad at doing this, so I'm just going to keep an eye on this to make sure that it's all melted in properly. While that's heating up, I'm just going to get a little bit of flour here ready to go. I'll let the butter melt until it sort of bubbles, and during this time I added my onions to start sauteing them up. So my butter's now just foaming, and this is why I like to do things a little bit separately, because butter's foaming, pot's boiling, onions are on. So we're just going to start with our flour a little bit here. Mixing in about 2 tablespoons. All right, there we go. Nice and thick. All right. It says to do this off the heat, so let's take a cloth here. So I slowly added the milk to the butter and flour mixture, mixing it rapidly while I'm doing it off the element. And I'm always struggling with this. I never seem to really get it right. I don't think I fully understand it. So basically making a simple white sauce here. So I'm always too slow, and you can kind of see there's a bit of a granule in there. I honestly don't think this really matters, but just keep mixing it while it's heating up. Try to get it as nice and smooth as possible. So continuing to fry up my onions and stirring my sauce, monitoring my pot that's boiling. When the sauce began to thicken, I added another cup of milk, slowly stirring it in gradually. And then added 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt. Continuing to saute my onions, added a bit of sugar. Then I added once I sort of felt like everything was at a good state, I added my potatoes to my hot water so that I wasn't sort of overwhelming myself with too many sort of tasks and activities. That's one thing I find that when I'm cooking, like if you're not fully aware of what you're doing, you can really overwhelm yourself, and that's sort of where you can get frustrated. So sort of separate your tasks out if you can, and be careful of that, like too many things happening at the same time. I'll throw some salt in there. Cover it up, and we're gonna cook it for 8 minutes. I really want to boil it for 8 minutes, but all right. We're just gonna add our garlic in there. Get it nice, just to get that flavor wafting up into your nose. Beautiful smells. Oh, garlic, delicious. Okay, and I'm gonna take this off. Just let that continue to sizzle away. And I'm going to transfer this to my big element. Get that going nicely. It's barely boiling, so turn our roux down. So you can definitely see it's actually quite thick. So it's pretty much ready to go. Timer just went off, so we're gonna strain these. Always use your oven gloves. Be careful of the hot steam. There you have it. Super hot parboiled potatoes, steaming like crazy. All right, let's build these scalloped potatoes. I first started off with a layer of sauce, and then followed it by spreading my potatoes about 1 layer thick around the entire surface of the pan, then half my onions and half my ham, and then I followed it up with some sauce. Now at this point I realized I didn't feel like I had enough sauce, so I added another cup of milk to the rest of my sauce so it would sort of spread out a little bit further. And then added some cheese on top of this layer, put another layer of potatoes, the rest of my onions, the rest of my ham, some more sauce, and then the final layer of potatoes on top, followed by more cheese, both cheddar and mozza. A generous amount. Um, I think the only thing I could say about this step is that I wish I had like another half potato. I felt like I was really trying to stretch the potatoes near the end.
Oh, why?
All right, let's put this in the oven. 350 for 35 to 40 minutes. Oh. So it's been 40 minutes. And look at this bubbling away. Looks absolutely divine. I'm just going to poke it with a fork. Ensure our potatoes are nice and cooked. I'm actually going to try one because it always takes longer than they say. All right, I'm okay with that. So I'm going to stick it in the oven on broil. Broil high, just to brown the top. We're going to get it nice, just nicely browned. And this is going to be probably like less than 30 seconds. Right. So 5 more minutes in the broil. Get a nice browned top. We're just going to let that sit for about 20 minutes. Okay, so we're just going to sprinkle some garnish green onions on this. It look extra nice. Normally, when I make scalloped potatoes in the past, I don't parboil my potatoes, and they take way, way longer to cook in the oven, and I always find them slightly underdone. The parboiling definitely speeds up the process, and one of the comments that went around the table was it kind of tastes like glorified mashed potatoes, which I think is what happens when you boil them. So while this dish was absolutely delicious, I'm not 100% sure this is exactly what I want in scalloped potatoes yet. However, it definitely speeds up the process. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. And as always, God bless.